We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's September 6th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yeun, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Park Ki-hoon.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, and Nelsong.
Good morning.
All right, now both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Now, if you're looking for a running crew, try joining the 7979 Seoul Urban Running Crew, which is open to all Seoul citizens at 7 p.m. every Thursday. It used to only be held at Gwanghwamun Square and Panpo Hangang Park, but from next Monday, the crew will include more people living in Jongno-gu, Gangso-gu, and Dobong-gu districts of Seoul. City officials are also trying to hold a pet run where you can bring your pets to run with you, and this event is scheduled for September 23rd. And you may think that not many people have phones in the secluded North Korean capital of Pyongyang, but recently, the Unification Ministry has found that 71% of Pyongyang residents do have a phone. Their evidence, though, was based on testimonies from North Korean defectors, but the amount of people with phones in other regions dropped to around 30%. The same went for food. While Pyongyang had food supplies hovering near 65%, remote regions showed a stark contrast with food supply rates hovering near 30%. And the culture ministers of South Korea, China, and Japan will gather for their annual meeting next week, where they discuss ways to boost cooperation. This year, the meeting will take place in Jeonju City in Jeollabuk-do Province, and this is the 14th meeting of its kind where the ministers release a joint statement on how they'll promote cultural exchange, specifically in content and the arts. Now, it will be the first time in 4 years the culture ministers will meet in person. The main agenda they will be talking about is how to foster better cooperation and infrastructure for the next generation, specifically in the sports and cultural content sectors. Officials will most likely talk about how the 2024 Winter Youth Olympics could kickstart better trilateral cooperation for young athletes in Korea, China, and Japan. As they've emphasized the importance of prioritizing youth and their needs, let's hear what our young panelists have to say on this issue, starting with Ki-hoon. Ki-hoon, what would you like to see being discussed next week?
A lot of things, because strengthening trilateral ties through soft power seems quite positive on the surface, but however, that's not always the case. Because right now, like political tensions among the three countries, it sways back and forth. And right now, especially with the release of the Fukushima wastewater, tensions between Beijing and Tokyo are being heated up more than ever, more than Korea against Japan. So honestly, for our next generation to cooperate much better between the three countries, I think we need to first mend ties that need to be solved immediately, that relate closely to our generation, the younger generation, not so much among each nation's government or like the political leaders. So not so much. I think soft power is important, but also the hard power as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because the culture ministers mentioned that they want to boost up cultural cooperation and really put aside diplomatic issues at the point. But as you mentioned, that should be covered first in order for better relations to come forth. What about you now?
Yeah, I agree that while it's great that we're keeping this kind of positive atmosphere, and I think at times it's necessary, especially if you've had issues and tensions going on for a long time, but I agree that we shouldn't glaze over the other issues that are important. And as we're mentioning the trilateral cooperation and cultures, I certainly think that this would be a great chance to not overlook any of the claims on our heritage and our territories, and not to be emotional about it, but really to keep that in mind as we move forward.
That's also a very important point, because historical heritages is also a very big part of the cultural sector, and we've had a lot of disputes in the past.
A lot of tension.
And our generation is well aware of not only the soft power like cultural content, but as you guys both mentioned, the historical disputes that are still left to be settled, and also diplomacy. We still need to see what happens there. And that was our news feed for this Wednesday. Let's now head into our main discussion topic of the day. What does it mean to be a fan? How far can we go to show our admiration and love to our beloved celebrities and idols? This seems to be a heated question asked in many online communities, especially after this one particular incident. Take a look at the screen to find out what this is. A few weeks back, supposed fans of K-pop boy group 17 sent a protest truck. A protest truck with messages demanding that the group member Joshua leave after being swamped with dating rumors. The member apparently didn't try hard enough to hide the fact that he was dating an influencer, which disappointed fans. Some apparently went as far as upgrading the protest truck to a Porsche. This was due to the rumor that Joshua bought his alleged girlfriend one. The behavior of these so-called fans raised eyebrows and criticism about what it means to be a respectful fan. Also, it highlighted the need to re-examine what a healthy relationship is like between a fan and an idol. It's not only 17's Joshua who has received these so-called protest trucks. Apparently, it's a common way these supposed fans communicate with their idols. So, Ki-hoon, could you tell us a bit more about the recent protest truck controversy and how they've been used in the past?
Right, so these so-called protest trucks started in 2017. Back then, fans would express their criticism to the entertainment companies, not so much to their idols, kind of expressing their views, saying, can you take better care and support our favorite idol members? But nowadays, their expressions have broadened and somewhat crossed the line in some sense, because they were requesting changes in makeup, choreography, removal of facial and body hair.
Okay, that's
It was real. It happened. And even telling them to lose weight because they seem like that they've gained weight on the screen. So diehard fans' way of protesting has definitely changed, and I think this has become the reason because they have invested more time and, of course, money into these idols, even before they debut. So it was obviously one way of marketing through from entertainment companies. So I think these diehard fans have this kind of feeling of ownership and a sense of like being a stakeholder. So they have more, I guess, say in their personal lives and what they do on and off the camera.
That's a very good point, Hyun. You mentioned that they feel like they're a stakeholder.
Right.
And I think that's it facilitated because of the digital platforms out there.
Right.
Idols are communicating with their fans via social media, so I think fans feel a better connection with the idols compared to the past, where they think that their opinions can easily fall through.
Exactly.
But could you also give us actual real-life examples of celebrities and their fans or fan clubs doing this sort of interfering with, I guess, what people do? Yeah.
So 2 p.m. recently, this came up, are holding concerts, comeback concerts, and they have a lot of fans, and they have been protesting for bigger venues and more schedules for the concert so that more people can attend.
Right.
And as people who are part of the fan club, they're kind of given priorities to get into the concerts, but it's already so full that more people want to get in. So they're protesting for more. And similarly, this has happened with 소녀시대's Taeyeon. They're saying, bigger venues and to promote her album and her tour better, as well as, filtering and regulating the online bullying comments.
Right.
And there's been other ones like Red Velvet, where they have been protesting for more albums, as they have been active for about 10 years and only have 2 full albums. So they're asking the company to release more albums on their behalf.
Right, and I understand all of that because they're protesting for the rights of their favorite artists to be protected. But in the case of 17 Joshua's protest truck, I hear that it wasn't from official fans or the fan club. And it was also against his dating, which is his private life, right?
Right. To be clear, there are official fan clubs that you can register. You pay for a membership, you get in, and they give you merch, and they kind of work with the entertainment. But then there's the unofficial groups where people gather and they talk about, similar things perhaps, but they may share different opinions on, whether they should remove body hair or, who they should date or not. And as their strong opinions get bigger, they come together and start protesting with trucks and such. And, this is kind of new because back in the day, the first generation K-pop, they had a president of the club when you register, and they would make decisions together as a group, as fans. But nowadays, it's more free. Anybody can join online. Even if it's official or unofficial, anyone is free to join. So there's a lot of different opinions. But as some of the fans, whether official or unofficial, start to do these protests, there's a lot of strain amongst fans as well.
Definitely, and though we're using the case of 17's Joshua as a good segue to talk about the fandom culture, we're not saying that the fans that actually did this was right or wrong, right? We're just saying they weren't a part of an official fan club, because that's a different issue. And also the definition of fan is very contentious in this issue. But what we can read into these protest trucks, or the way fans think that they can directly communicate with their favorite artists, is open to discussion. That's why I would like to ask you guys, how would you define the fandom culture we're seeing among the new generation here in Korea these days?
Compared to the past, like I mentioned before, fans have gained more authority and play an important role in the success of an idol or the idol groups. And entertainment companies know this. So how they market is, they use a lot of social media platforms to promote their idols.
Right.
And hence they gain a closer and a stronger relationship with the fans. Therefore, idol fans feel that they have a much stronger relationship. So they can express their emotions a little more, whether it's disappointment, anger, or just pure, I guess, betrayal as well in some sense, because once they see like them in a different relationship, they might feel a little hurt.
Yeah.
And I think it has definitely changed from the past, because in the past, fans just viewed idols as literally idols and role models, and they would just literally just support them and just wish for their best. But nowadays, I think fans have this feeling of nurturing their idols because they invest so much money and time into them. So they even act like parents and even girlfriends and boyfriends. So I think they've become a little too personal. Fans
that's
these
right.
days.
To the extent where they're interfering with their personal matters.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. What about you now? What would you say?
I think just to add on to that, I think a lot of fans have become emotionally attached. As in the past as well, they were emotionally attached, but as there is this interaction between them, like we were mentioning on social media or even the live shows, and they have, if you join the fan club, there's more opportunities to maybe meet them at autograph signing events, and they spend a lot of money.
They do.
They spend so much of their money, their time, their emotions, so they feel like they have the right to give an input, and they, buy dozens of albums to get just the right type of photo card, or even that ticket to get to an autograph signing event. I've seen people buy 20 albums and just kind of leave the albums and take whatever's inside.
Like
it's
the photo
like
cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the golden ticket in the chocolate that they're looking for. But I think like foreign fans or even Korean fans pay a lot of money to do billboard ads as well for their birthdays and their debut anniversaries, and so they feel like they need to get something in return for that from them personally.
Which is understandable given the amount of time and money they've invested to their favorite idols. And we'll talk about whether the way they express their betrayal though, or their disappointment is right or not. But before moving on, let's hear what our viewers have to say about Korea's unique fandom culture, and let's see if they found anything distinctive about it. Take a look at the screen to find out. So Leon Teo said, I think what I find interesting in the Korean fandom culture is the birthday support events for your favorite idols, like sending coffee trucks, having subway and billboard advertisements, and holding cup sleeve events at cafes. Pongsom78 said, I was shocked to see fans renting out a cafe for a day where they could enjoy themed drinks based on their favorite members, indulge in desserts, and purchase merchandise. The price of these drinks and desserts were astonishingly high. And Mola Grawal said, there's no boyfriend or girlfriend rule, at least in practice, if not on paper, is deplorable. Now, thank you to our viewers who shared their comments. And as we mentioned before, the recent protest trucks actually did raise questions as to what it means to be a supportive and respectful fan. In that sense, what do you guys think are the pros and cons behind Korea's heated fandom culture?
For an entertainer, it will be a blessing to have super devoted fans who really support you, because they're the ones who actually put you on the map. And that's what most entertainers dream of when they debut, to become famous and popular. But however, the downside would be things can go wrong when people become a little too emotional and attached and involved in anything. And I think some Korean fans become a little too attached, and they hence invade their personal space and privacy. So I think both sides should be mindful of where they stand in this relationship and act a little more maturely so that no one gets hurt in the end.
What about you now?
I mean, I also think that it's great that they have this much passion and love for who they love, and spending that much time is their freedom and their choice. But I think when this love gets too intense, I think people can get hurt, whether it's between the fans and the artist or between themselves, because everybody has a different way of showing love. But there's also diehard fans, or in Korean we call them 사생, who invade their privacy, call them, send them delivery food to their houses, and sometimes send unnecessary bad gifts when they're disappointed in them. I really think that's crossing the line, and even fans are saying that's not a fan.
Exactly.
They're crossing over to that, and I feel like when it comes to that point, it's obviously very toxic, and there needs to be a standard and boundary for people to regulate that somehow.
Definitely.
I don't know how. I don't have a solution right now, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And I think it's almost like, because they have so much power, they're investing money into it, but it kind of leaves them vulnerable to be taken advantage of, because they have this artist that they love so much and they want to invest in them, but if they raise the prices, they still have to keep paying because they love them so much, like concert tickets.
It is a hard issue that we need answers to, but to better find out what the best solution to be is and what the best definition of an actual fan is, let's include a fellow millennial who's also a great K-pop fan herself, who can share her insight about Korea's unique fandom culture and share what fandom culture is like in other parts of the world. We're going to compare Korea's fandom culture to that of other parts of the world. We'll do so by including Hwang Jinhee in our talks. She's a content creator in Buenos Aires who loves K-pop and can tell us about the fandom culture is like in Argentina. Welcome back, Jinhee.
Hello, how are you?
Hey.
Hi, thank
Still
you.
Tuesday here in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yes, hi. Now, I would like to ask you the first question. What would you say are the distinctive traits behind Korea's fandom culture?
Oh, I would talk more about the culture I notice in Latin America, fans in Latin America. I feel the fandom has more experience and knowledge than ever. Fans are very much updated with the latest news, not only about K-pop or K-drama, but about Korean society in general. I guess they have a more informed opinion about Korea, but still I feel there is gap between reality and information. Sometimes we receive news about a fact, but that fact needs a cultural context. A particular fact can be different meanings and intentions depending on the motivation or cultural background. So I think it is important what different global media like Arirang does in order to let people know, for example, in Latin America, about Korean culture, but from inside, explaining what something means for a Korean.
Okay, Jeannie, since you live in Argentina, how different is it from that of Argentina's, and what is the fandom culture like over there?
Oh, well, Argentine or Latin fans in general, all full of passion and enthusiasm. That is a real, Latin thing. Every time K-pop idols come to the region, they have a great experience and feeling fans love in the field, in concerts and fan meetings. They used to tell me that they love that. They feel, recharge of energy. And at the same time, I used to tell idols to be relaxed. Latin culture is quite open, and with some exemptions, at least the fandom in my community, they are very respectful and kind, especially towards the private lives of K-pop artists. Generally speaking, for example, when an artist dates somebody or they announce marriage, fans will celebrate that. They're pretty cool about that. These days, Latin fans are particularly excited because there are representatives from Argentina and Brazil in the latest Hive competition audition, which is called the Dream Academy. The applicant from Argentina is Celeste. Her name is Celeste. She is 19 years old, and especially, Argentine fans are really hoping she could make it. to have a place in the finals. She would be the first Argentine to become a K-pop idol. It would be historic.
Okay, and lastly and very briefly, what do we need to do to become a more mature K-pop or any type of fan, and how do we build a stronger, better culture for that fandom?
Well, objective and neutral information is important from my perspective. The K-pop community generally has a lot of passion, as I told, and emotions going on. So I think that the people who have the responsibility and privilege of sharing information, including myself, could be a great tool to promote a healthy, tolerant, and peaceful interchange of culture. And also, we could make contributions from tiny actions in order to make social media a more tolerant and safer place, especially for young people.
Yeah.
All right, Ginny, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to hear from you today and hear your insights on today's topic.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Ginny mentioned that Latin American fans are very supportive of their idols and their favorite celebrities out there, but I would like to mention, so is in Korea. Today we did talk about like how fandom culture could go too far and the extent where like fans might be obsessed with the personal lives of their idols and express it in a wrong way. But there's so much healthy fandom culture in Korea, I believe, as well. Would you guys like to elaborate on what we should continue on to see more safer and stronger fan culture here in Korea?
You know, entertainers and fans go hand in hand, and fandom club culture has rapidly changed over the years. So I think there needs to be a bit more concrete measures that outlines and regulates the behaviors of fans and how much they can actually intervene with entertainers. And of course, on the entertainer side, they should be a bit more educated in how much they should actually respond to these kind of supportive love.
Now,
Yeah, I think, the majority of the people that are really supportive of these artists, they're doing a good job. But I think setting that atmosphere, and if somebody is going out of line, because social media is a great place to, make your voice heard, there's a lot of negativity as well. You can also battle that with positivity and for all the fans to join in to set that tone. I think that's so important.
and I think we shouldn't overgeneralize. Like a minority of fans don't represent the whole fandom or fan culture.
Exactly.
Like even for Joshua's protest trucks, that was from a minority of Chinese fans out there. So it doesn't really represent the whole fandom or who a fan could be. So I think it's up to us as well, like our
Each
generation.
individual counts.
Exactly, to accept all this type of different things out there. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Park Ki-hoon
Thanks for having me.
and Nao Song.
No problem.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.